All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of To Become Family. We are so excited to kind of continue our little Lenten series with promoting all of our favorite people. And we have Melissa and Alex from Saints Alive on again. They were one of our first guests when we first did guests, and
Yeah.
now they're back again. And but they have some really exciting stuff to share with us because they just keep sharing their talents and gifts, and they're growing. So let us know, what's the big news?
What's the
Or
big
first say hi.
news?
Say hi to it. Sorry.
No, thank you guys.
Get to
No,
it.
thank you guys so much for having us back.
Yeah, I feel really. Are we your second time guests?
I
Yes, maybe.
yeah.
I don't know. Have we?
Maybe I don't
Maybe.
know.
I think so. I don't.
say
I
that we
feel. I feel
Yes,
really honored being
you are
a
the
guest
first
in
second
general.
time guest.
Okay, wow,
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Huge.
it's a big honor.
It's huge.
Yeah.
No, when we were first starting out, like getting on your show and like starting out, like you guys were starting out around the same times that we were too. And it was just like, yeah, so good to have fellow travelers in, this crazy content making boat.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think our podcast launched like 3 months apart from each other or
Mhm.
2. It was really close, and I remember just being, oh, they're doing it, we're doing it. What is this gonna do?
Husband and wife trying
Yeah.
to work together without strangling each other.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
Like, you guys inspire us. We're like, okay, we're gonna make it. They're doing it. We could do it too.
I know.
No, we do.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
couple-preneurs, I think is what.
Couple-Preneurs,
Yeah,
yes.
the Texans
Yes.
have coined it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So since
But
you were
thank you
last
for
on,
having
though,
us.
when did we last do guests? 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So what do you remember? What changes you've had since then for
Oh
Saints
my
Alive?
gosh.
Oh man,
2 years.
I was
New
pregnant
equipment?
with
New
new equipment.
equipment.
I was pregnant with our second. Now I'm pregnant with our third, which is not Saints Alive related, but it's like in my head. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we merged with Hallow, which has been huge. So Alex took the leap from his day job, left it. We went all in on Saints Alive, and we were like, God, if you want us to do this, you have to provide. And it was terrifying.
Yeah, but when she says like made the leap, she means like kicking and screaming in
Yeah.
fear, and we're like, okay, God,
What
I
are we
don't know
gonna
what
do?
we're gonna do.
Yeah,
But,
and 2 weeks of like, what have we done? What are we gonna do? 2 weeks later, Hallow called and said, we want to take you guys on full time, and we love what you're doing, and we just want to support you. And it was just like, honestly, when I look back at the fact that it was only 2 weeks that I had to wait, like, I'm like, Saints waited for like 20, 30, 40 years, like I had 2 weeks of torture.
I think it was actually 3 weeks.
3 weeks, so that justifies
So
it.
it was
Yeah.
It was much longer than 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy. That was definitely like God. That was like a God wink.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
But no, that's been the biggest thing. It was life changing. It went from like this crazy side hustle, and like we had so much passion, but it was just the two of us, to expanding our team and having support and providing for our family and making 2 to 3 times more episodes every year than we used to. And it's wild. I never would have predicted it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay, can you share then? Because we get asked that often, like this prompting: is it of the Lord? Is it just me? Or like, what was that? Can you maybe share the 2 weeks prior to leaving the job? Like, what was that? What was happening in your prayer life? What was happening in your conversations? How did you finally
good
like make that call?
Your journal entries, everything.
Let me pull it out.
Well, we can go back to the text messages, yeah. But yeah, it was just, we were at this point where I was working basically 80-hour weeks and not sleeping, and not being able to be present husband or dad, just like working to the grindstone, working the day and then working the night, editing. And Melissa was doing, script writing in the daytime, and I was working late into the night, like every single night. And it just came to this point where it was like, God, if you want this to continue, like, you're going to have to like do that. We had at that point about like 3 months of finances left for Saints Alive to continue. And I just felt this clear call of being like, I have to take the leap, and God will catch us. And, but there wasn't like, he's not going to be able to catch us until we take the leap. We're at that point where like, I think you come to these points in in all creative endeavors where you've done all the work you can do. You've done the craft, you've done like the launch of the thing, and it's doing its thing, and you're following God's will with it. And then he asks even more from you, and you have to make the jump. And that's the point that we came to. I remember driving back from like my job. I was commuting from Boston up to Vermont like weekly, and just like kind of broke down. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I remember this like conversation. I was in the kitchen with you, and
we were living with his parents.
We were living with my parents.
Didn't even have a house.
Didn't have a house. And we had
kids.
2 kids, and it was just crazy. And I remember you looking at me, and you were just like, I think it's time then. And I was like, but we have 3 months of finances left. Like that's a huge risk. And then we just prayed, and we were like, no, this is time. I think this is the time to do it.
Yeah, it was really uncomfortable. It was like really scary. There were enough people that like we were like consulting with and talking to that like we trusted and were encouraging us and telling us like, go for it. We think you have something here. And yeah, that night, I think it was definitely just like a Holy Spirit moment that was just like, okay, like he's asking us to jump, you know. The next morning, flood of tears. Like, what have we done? You just gave your notice. But no, it's one of the best things that we've ever done. And it was really hard, but it was worth it.
Yeah, it's, those leaps are never not scary. I think like people keep like, I know I was waiting for like, well, it will someday, this won't be scary. Like, no, but it is scary. There's no way around it. So yeah.
And how did that feel? How was that experience in your marriage? Like, Melissa, to look at your husband and look at him and be like, he is working so hard and he needs like my okay. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, I can make this leap, you know, as the man, like doing the job and trying to grind and do all the things. Like, I don't know, like looking at him in the face, and then like you, Alex, like receiving that. I don't know. How was that moment?
Yeah.
Just interpersonally, not necessarily ministry or work wise.
Yeah. I think I talked about this the last time we interviewed with you guys, but when we first got married, I was seeking comfort far more than I realized. I'm like, I want this many kids, and I just want like a simple house, and I want, you know, financial stability and all things that are good. But I was not looking for adventure by any means. I was like risk, no. Like, I was a nurse because you have job stability. Like, you can, among other things. But it like, God had to work on my heart for a long time. And it was honestly, like, this sounds cheesy, but it was really through the saints. Just like every time I wrote a new script, it was like their life was one of total abandonment and adventure. And that is what God is calling all of us to. And this is something that like I know is so good, and I know it's helping families draw closer to God. And like ultimately, I knew Alex needed me to say like, I trust you, and I know we can do this. And it took me a long time to get there. Like I'm such a control freak. You know, like I just wanted to know, like, if I had known that like Hallow was going to call and everything was going to work out, it would have been really easy. But I don't think it would have meant as much to you if I had said, I trust you, but also everything's going to be fine. You know?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like looking back now, like, I don't think like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, I think we had to make that leap together in order for God to be like, okay, here's the door, you know? And because otherwise, like, I don't know, like, it's just so weird how he works with these things. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Hallow called after I left the job.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And, and we were like, okay, God, it's all in your hands now. Like, it's on you. It's like, you know, it's on you. Yeah. If you want Saints Alive to continue, like, you'll make it happen.
But it was such a beautiful thing for our marriage to have that total abandonment to each other and just like, I trust you and I don't know what's going to happen. to like such an extreme level, you know, and it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone for sure.
So cool. All right. So share with us a little bit of the stuff that you're working on with Hallow. So now you've partnered with Hallow and you're producing more. Share with us a little bit. What are you working on?
Yeah.
We have a really exciting project that we've been working on for like the past year. Well, Melissa's been like writing it for the past year.
Yeah, it's been about a year. So we're launching a kids Lenten challenge, and we did like there have been a couple of kids Lenten challenges on Hallow, but this one is like, I don't even know how to say it. It's like full throttle. We were working on it for a year. It's called The Little Way. And what we realized with last year's challenge is it was kind of like bits and pieces. It was like some prayers from this person, some stories from that person. Oh, here's a Saints Alive episode. And we surveyed all of our listeners, and people really want something comprehensive and like something like characters that you can cling to as a family. So this is sort of like Adventures in Odyssey becomes Catholic and like takes on Lent. Only different than Adventures in Odyssey, but because there are actual kids playing the kids, not adults playing the kids, among other things. But yeah, so you just follow these two characters, Mia and Paul, who are kind of like recurring characters in our episodes. But instead of jumping to like, oh, here's a random adult praying, it's like you pray with Mia. You ask Father David Michael Moses about his vocation with Paul. You dive into his Saints Alive story when they go visit that site. And so it almost feels like a TV series of their Lenten journey. And it's been so much fun to write.
Yeah. It's way better than a TV series though, because it's like helping instill the faith.
Yeah.
And it's very interactive. Like we really built it so that like, families could do this together as like a faith building activity, but like way more than your run of the mill, like typical kids Lent family things. Like this is going to be helping like hopefully families model faith and like ask about great questions and just really enjoy great stories at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's going to be like something that we've never really done before is building out a 40-day long narrative and thanks to Melissa's hard work on the writing front.
And a team of people.
Of people.
Yeah.
With it's been a huge team lift, but we're really excited to like build out this world too of Saints Alive in like a new way.
Wow. So 40 days of recording different like episodes. That is a lot of writing. That's a lot of prep beforehand. Yeah, that makes sense. A whole year of commitment to get here.
It's
crazy. So you kind of gave us like a preview of what like a week might look like or what have you. Was any of them like, are you most excited for one particular way of diving into this, or do you want to explain how each week is kind of broken up and then maybe answer that question?
Yeah. When do the week break down?
Yeah. So the week is it's broken up into Mondays and Wednesdays are like the Saints Alive episodes. So, but even when you go into a Saints Alive episode, you start with Mia and Paul, the two characters, and they're visiting St. Genevieve's, relic or the church where she's buried. And they start reading the plaque, and then all of a sudden now you're like hearing the Saints Alive episode. So those days are like super immersive, really fun. Those are always our favorites because that's what we do. Tuesdays are kind of like a meet a character day. So we have Sister Miriam James Heidland and Father David Michael Moses and Tanner, our co-founder, and just like fun characters that Mia and Paul meet along the way. And they ask about their vocation story, or they're like, I'm embarrassed about evangelizing, or like whatever it is. And they're just really like these beautiful, honest conversations. Wednesdays are Saints Alive episodes. Thursdays are prayer days, which was hard for me because I'm used to like, all right, keep the action going. And how do we do it? And it's just like slow it down. Like it's time to pray. So it's all universal prayers of the church. So one Thursday you pray night prayer with Paul and his dad. One is the Angelus with Mia and her mom, a decade of the Rosary, Divine Mercy Chaplet, just like trying to introduce kids and families to just slowing everything down and praying together.
And praying with their parents
Mhm.
too. Like that's a big thing. So we really wanted to like instill like kids like pray with your dad, pray with your mom, and like mom and dads pray with your kids.
Mhm.
You know, like don't do these things separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays, I skipped Fridays because I can't remember what Fridays are.
Fridays are saint stories, but not Saints
right.
lifestyle.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Fridays are saint stories, usually like the same character that they met like earlier in the week will be like, hey, like, let me tell you about this story. And they just tell a story. Saturdays are family games, which are like goofy and fun and hilarious. And it's like the dad and mom or Uncle Tanner, whoever it is, quizzing the kids with like fun game show music. And then Sundays are homilies for families, because that's something that we're always looking for, is like a legitimate, just like 6-7 minute homily. So like the gospel reading and then the homily from a great priest. So
Yeah.
that is the week. I think I'm most excited. I'm most excited for the Saints Alive days, because that's like
What we do.
But I think the prayer days, I mean, like for us as a family, I can already anticipate just, driving is usually when we listen, and just slowing down to pray. I'm like, I need that. I need that. And I need to model that with my kids. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even excited for like kids like who, because there are a lot of fans who are kids, obviously, of Saints Alive, but like we've never really gotten the chance to just like have the fans like pray together with us. And so like I'm really excited for that specifically, like having like kids be like, oh, they're going to be praying now with us. And I think that's just like bringing it home in a different way for the listeners. So yeah, I'm just super excited for the Saints Alive days too. But the whole
I think
thing,
you have a lot of parent fans as well, because you've been
Yes.
helping us with our
hope so.
catechesis.
We hope so.
And,
We try.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for the prayer time, because I think the temptation for us as parents, and like I know I definitely have this one, is like making sure that kids have good content to consume on their own, but not always engaging with them to the degree that I should. We do our prayers at night, but yeah, we could always do more and do better. So I like what you said about introducing to all these different types of devotions, and it's such a beautiful way that you described it too. That it's not just like, oh, here to listen to the Divine Mercy Chaplet, but like it's with Paul and his dad, for example. Like that just sounds super inviting to want to participate in that together as kids. So I really, yeah, that sounds very exciting.
I feel like it's similar to our goal with writing the book and have it be conversation starters amongst couples, and kind of like putting it off on something else. Like, hey, let's talk about this because the book said so. It's kind of like, let's pray because they are doing it, and like introduce, instead of the parent being like, we're going to sit down and pray the rosary together. And that just sounds less appealing than when Paul and Mia pray together, and so I think that that's a really great way to introduce something with a positive reframing, and then it could become a habit for the family. They can pick the one that, wow, I really like that prayer. I really like that devotion. Let's make that part of our regular daily life or weekly life or what have you. So that sounds really, I don't know. I can get on board with how excited you must feel for that, because that sounds really good for our family too.
Yeah. And I think another thing too, like, I remember reading this study when we were first starting our podcast about how much kids love hearing other kids' voices. Like they really, and I don't remember anything about the study except that fact that they like, just like across the board, they love it.
Yeah. I remember you reading the study like, Alex, kids love kids' voices. Great.
But I think too, like hearing these kids who like, they're coming to know, like they're like jokes that we make throughout the whole series that kind of like string together, and character arcs and different things. But it's like, they know and trust these two characters. And when they're initiating prayer, not just their parents too, like, hey, Paul, do you want to pray this with me? It's just, I really hope it inspires them.
Yeah. Because I think like kids, like you just want them to know that like, hey, it can be like a really great thing to like choose to pray with your family. And like these characters are just modeling it for them. But they're also like, it's not just about that. Like we really put a lot of thought and heart into like making these characters real. Like they're not like, it's time to pray now, guys. Like, no, like they're going through like all these different things in the story and like the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact. One of the reasons the show Hey Arnold was so popular was because the kids were the ones that were actually doing the voices, and they grew up with the characters as they did the voices. And then when the characters aged out, they always put another kid in, so that the kids always sounded like kids, so they never was an adult. Sorry.
Playing a
Pretending to
kid.
be a
So, because kids like kids' voices.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, this supports my study.
This
I
is your
don't know where I got it
hypothesis.
from, but yeah.
It was Nickelodeon who did the study, actually.
It was the Hey Arnold cast.
That's right. we were, while we were all home with the stomach bug, you end up watching a lot of movies. And so we tried to do like series. So we did Toy Story, 1, 2, to just be okay with sitting in front of the TV all day. But we watched High School Musical. And our son was so scandalized by how old they actually were, because we were commenting, we're like, oh, we're like the same age as them. And he's like, what do you mean? We're like, yeah, he was like 28 when he was acting. And they were very offended that they were fooled into thinking they were high schoolers.
I remember as a kid being very offended by that too.
Yeah.
I was like, that is a lie.
Yeah, she's not in high school.
Yeah, but like Saved by the
That's
Bell.
why that guy has a beard.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not going to have that in high school.
AC Slater should not be that big as a sophomore, right? Like Saved by the Bell. No, but yeah, anyways. So Ortegas are on board with kids sounding like kids because they'll feel like it's very authentic.
Yeah, it's funny. So the character Paul, it's our nephew, and Alex has spent hours and 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 hours recording him.
Many hours.
It's been great, and he has such a great voice, but he's also gone through puberty. So we were like, oh, is this okay? But we're like, okay, he sounds young enough still. And do you know what? Paul's getting older. That's okay. We're going to work it into the script. We're going to make this work,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Oh, that is so
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy hearing the difference between this year and like last year with him. Because it's like, oh my gosh, this kid sounds totally different. Yeah. But he does sound similar enough.
Yeah.
Does Paul's voice crack during the series at all?
Hopefully we've caught and edited out all of them, because there have been many cracks
That's amazing.
in the recording.
Oh, that is so cool to do that.
Recording with him. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun recording with my nephew. And they were recording, and he kept trying to do this one line, and he kept cracking every time. He's like, oh, I keep cracking. Darn it. But yeah.
What was it like scripting out Holy Week with kids in mind? Because we did the Triduum last year, and our kids are starting to altar serve, so they're starting to enter it a little bit differently. But I still think, and maybe this is just me like hoping too much for them as kids, but like I want them to get more out of it, so that they don't get to high school and be like, I don't care about this anymore. So like, what was it like scripting this out? Because I feel like that's going to be big, at least for our kids going into it this year.
So interestingly, last year we did the Triduum called Through Their Eyes. Like that was a specific series for four days. Thursday, Holy Thursday was St. Mark. Good Friday was St. Veronica. Saturday was St. Peter, and Sunday was St. Mary Magdalene. So we like dove into these stories and like walked through the Triduum through those stories of those characters. And we're actually going to relaunch that again this year, just to like. So I think it's something that like we made that series in mind, with it being something for parents to come back to every year and to like re-listen to, because like those events are like, they're like, the hinge point of the faith, and we like, there's a reason why the church like comes back to those same readings every year too. So like there'll be things that we may do years with like swapping out some actors and things like that, but we're gonna like, that's something that we'll do continually every year, is relaunch that Through Their Eyes series, because the Lent series will go up right until the day before, so it'll go up on the Wednesday before Holy Thursday.
Yeah, we were trying to figure it out, and like we kind of like debated for a couple months, like, okay, well, what do we have Paul and Mia do like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And it really came down to like, Renzo, exactly what you're saying. It's like, you want your kids to understand the gravity of this. And I was like, the script can't be about Paul and Mia anymore. Like, they're all done. And now like, So like the script is that they're like, yeah, we're going to listen to the Triduum series. You guys should join us, but like, I couldn't wrap my head around any other story but the one of the Triduum. And maybe there's a more creative way that I could have done that, but like the Lent adventure is sort of like with Paul and Mia that we did. It's kind of like, it's fun and it's adventurous and like it does have a lot of heart and like hard questions and prayers and things, but the Triduum is just, it's so different. And we were just like, it just felt a little bit untouchable with them this year.
Yeah, maybe we will do something different with the Triduum, but like for one, I'm very excited for people to revisit the Through Their Eyes series again, because it's just like, it's
another series that we really poured into and just like, I think that it's a really beautiful way because like the passion is obviously way too much for kids. And I think but also you don't want them to not know about like what Jesus did for them. Right. So
like, I think audio specifically is a really great thing to lean on to because they're going to hear it and we structure it in a way that like, like they can definitely understand what's going on, but it's not going to be like gratuitous in that like they can't handle it. Like their minds will take it where it needs to go, but but they don't know it won't go past,
right?
And then as they grow each year, they'll know more of what they're hearing of like what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that.
I think that that's such a great gift that you're giving for families to have something new for Lent, to enter into a little bit differently or a little uniquely, but then for them to also be provided the opportunity for a tradition too, like a very special way of age appropriately entering into this most holy time of the year for us. So it'll be neat for, I love the idea for our kids to go back and revisit that because I'll be interested to have the conversations with them. Like, how is this different from last year? What did they pick up on that they didn't before? And I think that is a really special opportunity that you're providing that. And I think it also, as an aside, but just as like content creators too, just being like, it's okay for like the good stuff to stay the good stuff and to not always feel like we need to reproduce and recreate when, the gospel is the gospel, the good stuff is the good stuff. Right. And to just let Jesus do that work. And we're here to cooperate, but to like, let that be, pure and like special that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like the Holy Spirit will make it known, like when it's time to add something to it for sure. But like, it wasn't this year, maybe next year. But yeah, I think that's a really good point though, as a general lesson though, for content creators. So like, to lean on to like, trust your instincts too, when things are like, oh my gosh, am I trying to just like continually churn out something new? Or is it like, or should I just trust in like what was made, that was quality,
Yeah. And I appreciate so much how much thought and attention you put into what the kids are listening to so that it's not beyond what they can understand in terms of like you said, it's not too gratuitous, not something that's going to scare them, right? Like it's not beyond what they know, which is, it's just, the way you worded it was so perfect because like we've seen firsthand how the kids' imaginations could scare them to, like, I remember our oldest who's now turning 11, but when he was little, he watched Little Einsteins and they had wolves come out once. And then he had nightmares about wolves for so long. And it's just so interesting how like their brains work with that. So just the fact that you were able to put such care into it so that the kids are safe makes me feel like, oh, thank you for caring for my kids. So like now I know like they can listen to this together and it's going to be good. So like I appreciate that you also put like the parent hat on when you're recording these.
Yeah. Well, I remember being a kid and having like just my imagination, and I think that's like God bless me with that, and I'm channeling that now into like Saints Alive and storytelling in general. But like it wouldn't take like much for my mind to like just run rampant with like something. And so like I always like when I'm editing and like we're putting stories together, it's just like, okay, like let's just think of like little Alex in this situation. Like what would he handle well versus like not? But also just like also ask me. Also like I have definitely created things that are like too much like sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's really helpful being a parent.
Yeah.
Although last night, our almost 5-year-old came in crying with a nightmare. And my first thought is always like, oh, like we shouldn't have watched that family movie, or like, what was it? And he said, a blanket came to life. A blanket? I can't help you. Like, I've done nothing wrong here. I've done nothing wrong. My hands are clean.
But sometimes I feel like he like makes up things, and it's like he actually knows.
No, he talked about the blanket today. How scary it was. I'm like, well, I can't help you, kid. Okay.
I don't know. He's a crazy one.
They're wild.
Yes.
Those little humans that you made. They're just wild. Do you have, so I'm thinking too, when you're talking about creating a scenario through audio, and you're masterful at the background noise, and I'm going to use all the wrong words because this is not my, what's the real
the word usage
No.
and the piano song. Sorry.
I'm sure there's a very, very clever way to word it. But I can't.
Technical, clever, yes.
It's a technical way to describe it. But I was thinking about the Saint Joseph episode where he kind of goes back and forth with battles and his dreams, and how differently my kids heard that. Like it's been neat to go back and listen to that episode, and to just hear what they've pictured that to look as. And one of them, who does have a much more wild imagination, we saw a picture one time of some sort of dragon type something or other creature, and he was like, that is what Saint Joseph was battling. And I was like, there is no picture. And he's like, well, that's what I saw. I was like, okay then. Wow. So it was very cool. And making those connections. So and for him, that's wild and exciting and adventurous. So it works for him that he's allowed to let his imagination go there for him. And so it's neat. So it's effective. You're doing a great job with all of your technical stuff.
I started this with a question.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a bad interviewer.
No, you're
not.
It's funny though, because Alex has he has an incredible imagination. And he always takes it 10 steps further than I do. Like, I'll listen to something and like, hey, listen to this scene. And then he's like, did you notice that? I'm like, did I notice what? He was like, he was shuffling the papers and then he turned up the heat in the corner of the room. And I'm like,
it's a great example.
No one's going to notice that but you. But there are also times where I'll write a script and I'll have the sound effects cues in. And I'm like, I remember this with Gianna. I was like, they're walking down the street and they're falling in love. And there are, 19 whatever, I can't remember when she was alive, 1940s, can't remember. These types of cars driving by and it's this type of day and these type of birds. And then I listen and I'm like, what are they doing in a cafe? And he's like, they had to be at a cafe. And this is the type of coffee that they ordered. I'm like, no, she wouldn't get a cappuccino. This is the extent that we go. And it's really the fun part is going back and forth. And but I have to credit you. You always have, your attention to detail is insane. But you also, there are times where I'll put it in a certain setting and you're just like, it's not working for me. They have to be in a cafe and this is why. Okay. All right, you win.
But that's so cool though, hearing that your kids have different experiences though of it too. Because it's that's why these stories I think are so great, because it gets them to they get to have ownership over how they are seeing this. And I can only think that that's going to help them own these stories, and as they develop their own faith stories, as they develop their own stories of their faith journey, and as they look to these things, they'll have really anchored visions and pictures in their mind of what it means live out like Saint Joseph, or what it means to live out like Saint Gianna, versus anything that we could see in a movie. Which is, I'm not knocking movies, I love movies, but I just think it's really, really powerful for them to see that, and it's so cool.
All right, so final question to wrap up. When you reach heaven, what are you going to be the patron saint of?
Organizing. It's not a very great thing.
Oh gosh, what it might be, I have no idea. I'll let God decide.
I don't know. I've never been asked that question.
I've never been asked that question either. God willing, I would be the patron saint of. Oh gosh.
Radio theater.
No, that's too on the nose.
Oh, too on the nose. Yeah, I love it when people are patron, like saints are patron saints, and then I'll be like, you know, like Saint Vincent de Paul recently. I was like looking him up, and it's like, oh, like of charitable organizations and hospitals and orphans and horses.
Yes,
Like,
that'll
where
be
did the horses one
horses
come
come
from?
Radio theater
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Background
Radio
noises.
organization.
Yes.
Okay.
Background noises.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Patron saint of soundscapes.
Yes.
Soundscapes,
pretty cool.
yes.
That's it. That sounds way better
Yeah.
than background noises.
I do have to take a minute and just plug your book. I hope that that's okay, but I just have to because it's amazing for anybody listening.
Oh, we don't have it here.
I know,
Yeah,
I should be
just
like
held it up
displaying
right
it.
now.
But yeah, like it's been so fun to be able to cheer on each other for so long. And just like our lives are crazy and busy. And then we'll just get like these little Instagram snippets of like, keep going. This is so great. But yeah, we ordered your book. I pre-ordered it because I knew it was going to be great. And I was telling Monica and Renzo this before we started the interview, but it is the best book on this subject out there, in my opinion. It is so theologically grounded. It is so well written and palatable and authentic. Like you can just feel like, you know that their heart went into this, like within like the first 5 pages of reading it. And I've already ordered more copies and I'm giving it to every single married couple.
We're already gifting one to my cousin getting married on Friday.
So if you have not gotten their book, do yourself a favor. It's great. Like really, really great. 10 stars out of 5.
And Melissa's very hard to please.
I am very hard to please.
That is very, very rare for her to say something like that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I can't recommend it highly enough. And I'm going to write an Amazon review that says that. I just haven't done it yet. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys, so
means a lot.
much. That really, really does.
Oh, yeah, we mean it.
It's been fun to like journey into this creative land with you guys, watching you guys and being able to cheer one another on. And I think it's really fun to do it as a couple and to watch another couple do it. And hopefully this also just anyone watching encourages couples to like go ahead and chase your dreams and put your creativity and organization and your 2 different people, put that together and do something really, really great. And so thank you for coming on to like witness to that as well. Just the power of, I don't know, what you guys can co-create if you put you 2 together in marriage. And so good. Where can we find you? Where do we get this Lenten series? Where do we follow you so we know all the things you're doing?
Yep. So go on Hallow. That's where you'll find the little way and join the wait list. It'll launch. So yeah, you join the wait list. Everything starts on Ash Wednesday. If you go to www.saintsalivepodcast.com, that's our website. You can also find a little wait list link there, as well as all the episodes. Saints, what's our Instagram? I always screw it up.
I think it's Saints Alive Pod.
No, it's saints.alive.pod.
Here's the thing. I made an Instagram account called Saints Alive Podcast. Then I locked myself out of it and I couldn't get back in. Melissa has been banned, just so everyone knows, she's been banned from making accounts ever again, because actually this happens quite often. When she makes accounts, she'll make an account and then log it out and we can never get back in. So yeah, there's a Saints Alive Podcast Instagram. That's not us. I don't know what it is. But it's saints.alive.pod. That's the Instagram. You'll find us there. Yeah.
And also, so Saints Alive is on all the major podcasts like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Google's not a thing anymore, I guess. But yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there.
Beautiful. We'll put all that in the show notes as well so that they're easy to click and find. And make sure that you guys tune in to Hallow or just podcasts. They release new episodes monthly. Right? St. Bridget just came out We listened to that already on the way to school. I love that it comes out on
Oh.
Mondays because we commute to school on Mondays. So that's perfect.
Awesome.
So check them out there. And all right, guys, we will see you at the next episode.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
God
guys.
bless you guys. Thank you.